Turn it off. That's too funny. Well,
That's
we'll
too
wait
funny.
for Robbie, the Hamburglar, to get back.
I got some crazy insight.
Who's got crazy insight? I was listening to Evan Silva on the pod and he thinks Fournette's going to get cut before the season. I was like, that's pretty bold.
Yeah, I just heard that too.
I mean,
I'm like,
Evan's usually, I mean, the fantasy god for a reason. Like, Evan's good, but I was like, Fournette getting cut? Like, why would they do that? That makes no sense.
Right.
That's crazy.
Like, we couldn't trade you. We're going to cut you. Like, wait, what? Like, to do what? Like, sign Lamar Miller or like start Raquel Armstead? Like,
yeah.
What are we talking about?
I just don't get it.
We'll see. That seems like a bold take. It'd be fitting for this episode. Let's be honest.
That is a firecracker.
That is a firecracker.
I didn't go back and listen to last year's just because I remembered most of mine. And I think Leonard Fournette was like the one hot take that I got right. And it wasn't even all right. It was only partially right. Because I said Kerryon. I said him, Kerryon, and Devonta would all be RB1s. And 1 out of 3 is not.
I think you were
if
on
you
pace.
got 333 in baseball, you're an all-star.
And Kerryon was on pace, I think, for it, and then the injuries. So
it's a fact.
I was gonna.
He couldn't carry on with the rest of his season.
I was gonna have a hot take where both of the Detroit running backs had over 800 scrimmage yards.
Okay.
And I didn't think that was.
I don't remember my hot takes from last year. Tim, you got them written down somewhere? You just moved. You probably lost them.
Yeah.
You know
Found
what?
all kinds of.
Please hold. I might. Hold on. I might actually have mine because I have my
Moving
handy
is no
dandy
fun?
notebook.
So
that's my
all last Saturday. We actually moved all the big stuff, and then Sunday, of course, is the mad dash to hang these million things up on the walls and get this built, and build that, and boom, boom, boom. And I want this moved over here and that. And then, like Wednesday, I came home from work, and my wife goes, my parents' septic backed up.
Oof.
The pipe that ran under their porch collapsed. So they'd been coming over and using our facilities and our showers. So I spent all weekend, Friday and Saturday, in a ditch in front of my in-laws' house, digging, and grading, and ripping out old piping, and putting new pipe in.
That sounds terrible. I found my bold takes on Trophy Time.
That's wild. Doug or Tim, can y'all let Robbie in? He says he's on. Oh, never mind. You got it.
He made it.
Robbie.
Robbie.
We can't hear you, though.
Ooh, I think I might have it.
Robbie, are you muted?
I cannot hear you, Robbie.
Robbie? Oh, no.
Robbie, can you hear me?
He's got a big hat with a big red K on it. I need to get that and rock it and tell everybody it's for Keller.
That's
I found the Hot Takes with J-Mike episode. Let's go.
Can't wait till
you and your notebooks. You and your notebooks.
All right. Do you want to hear mine real quick from last year?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's see. Hold on. My first one. Hot takes. Trey Quinn, Hunter Renfrow, and Trent Taylor all finish in the top 40 at wide receiver in full point PPR. That didn't happen. Curtis Samuel has a Tyreek Hill light season and goes for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns plus 250 yards rushing. Not quite. Tyler Lockett regresses back to his 3-year average of 600 yards and 3 touchdowns on 68 targets. Sell now. That didn't quite happen. Jalen Samuels has more yards from scrimmage than James Conner. That might have come true.
I'm going to find that out.
Here's one. Keelan Cole leads all Jags pass catchers in yards, receptions, and touchdowns. Chase Edmonds is...
Right.
I put Chase Edmonds is a flex play, even with David Johnson being healthy. Chase Edmonds has
on his way.
He was. Oh, Jordan Reed ends up being the best value buy low tight end in 2019. Leads the team in targets, receptions, and touchdowns.
Man, feels bad, man. Feels bad.
Doug, I will
What's up,
say,
Taylor?
while I was mowing, Doug, I listened to Trophy Time, and I have to
Oh,
agree
our-
with your guys'
Our Scott Fishbowl
take
episode.
there on Chase Edmonds. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
so
Chase is on the case.
I've been working that angle later in my mocks, seeing if
I got him in the
how it turns out.
Eliminator, which was 17 rounds. I think I got him in round 15 of the 17 team. I was like, why is Chase
Man.
Edmonds still here?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
hello.
Test.
Hello.
Test.
Hey, we hear you.
Oh,
Little soft.
There
but we
he
hear you.
is.
a little soft.
A little bit.
Pump up the volume.
Oh snap! And we got Berg's in the building. What's up, Berg? Zach Reed in the building. Hey guys, big brother Zach.
Why does Doug have sleeves on his shirt tonight? That's a great question. That is a
Don't
great.
worry,
I was
everybody. He's got
outside
his
in the
swimming trunks
sun.
on.
I do have my swimming trunks on. So funny story. I do all the laundry in the house. I'm a stay-at-home dad, as most people know. So I do all the laundry. I actually only cleaned 2 pairs of underwear this past week, but I cleaned 5 sets of swim trunks. I am in swim trunks almost all day long, by the way.
Oh, okay. Of your underwear.
Yes, my underwear.
Okay, I was gonna say like for the whole household, only 2 pair of underwear. All right.
Cue up Tom Petty free balling if that's the case.
So with having a pool, I'm just curious.
Mhm.
Pool dreams, if you will, hashtag pool dreams. Is it just one of those things where when it gets to be the summertime, like you just keep the trunks on because just randomly you might be like, you know what? Let me just take a quick dip.
I'll
Is that
tell
how
you.
that
So
works?
here's the beauty about having a pool. So I mowed the lawn yesterday, and it was like in the low 80s today. It wasn't too bad, but I built up a sweat mowing the lawn. Usually takes about an hour to mow, to trim, to blow all the junk everywhere. And the beautiful thing about having a pool is that I literally went out back, took my shirt off, took my shorts off. I just had boxer briefs in, and just jumped right in the pool. Just bloop. Didn't even care.
Hot.
Like whatever. I don't even need a swim. But most days, yes, I just have my swim trunks on. And that way, like, hey, if the kid wants to go in the pool, I don't have to run around. Like, I just have them on all day anyway. So they're super comfortable, the ones that I have. So I just keep them on. And then you can just jump in the pool at a moment's notice and call it a day. And they're super comfortable. So,
Hard to beat.
yep, it's nice. But yes, I have a regular sleeve shirt on today. I had to protect my arms a little bit from getting burned. I didn't put any sun. If you see like this beautiful skin color that I'm rocking right now, it is tanned. I am tanned. And the beautiful thing is when you're nice and you're normally a crispy white, and now I'm tanned, it really makes the silver in my hair pop. So I am USDA prime beef right now. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I like it.
I get compliments on the hair all the time. People see me and like, oh, I love your hair. And I'm like, thanks. I'm like, it looks even more silver than normal because of with the skin tone being a little darker. So it's nice. I like it. I wish it was all silver. Like if just the whole thing would go.
I mean,
I'd feel
almost there.
I'd feel more distinguished. My beard is my beard's like a white.
Yeah.
But the rest of this it's a nice mixture. So
What's up?
I'm working
You'll
on
soon
it.
be buying a monocle.
Yeah, it's Mr. Monopoly. How's it going? Well, in the first round, I think I'm going to draft Zeke Elliott.
If anyone could pull off the monocle, it's Doug.
I have to announce all my picks in that like old racehorse or the old ball game, like baseball, like, up at the bat, here comes Ty Cobb. He's batting 327. Like that old school announcer.
Changing your Twitter handle from the Fantasy Father to Ye Old Fantasy Father.
Ye old.
Yeah, with the E at the end of old.
Let me speaketh in the old English.
Ye Old Fantasy Father.
The oldest. He's the oldest of fathers. That'd be hilarious. All right. Robbie, you ready? You turned off your video. Is that because your internet is bunk?
Yeah, I'm trying everything. Can you guys hear me all right? How's the
Yep.
volume?
I hear
Yeah,
you.
much better.
Volume
Mine's
is as
good.
good as it's been. Indeed.
All right. I'm gonna probably cut out a couple times, but we'll just do the best we can and we'll
Yeah.
crush it.
Yes. All right. Give me one quick second. Give me one quick second here while I review the script.
Ye
All right,
Old
places,
Fantasy
everyone.
Father
We're getting ready to shoot here.
Yes.
Tim, you're on the film. J. Mike, you've got the microphone because you have Mike in your name.
As
Off the
Doug
rails
goes through
already.
his scrolls.
Yeah, so let me go through my Elder Scrolls. All right. All right. I'm going to count us down to 1, and then we'll go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Dynasty Happy Hour. Here we are. No, I'm not going to do the old man voice. This is a great night. Not only is it a holiday weekend, the 4th is getting wrapped up. Fortunately, I can't hear any fireworks in my neighborhood, so I'm thankful for that. But you know what? We are on the eve of Scott Fishbowl 10, one of, if not the biggest fantasy football event of the year. Everyone that you're going to hear tonight is in Scott Fishbowl. Fortunately, the 1,440 individuals that are in it, we have 4 of them all on the microphone together tonight. We are very happy to have not only Tim Keller and his new digs. We've got Robbie Jeffries filling in for Tyler Gunther, who's up north with his family enjoying the holiday. But we've got the one, the only, J. Mike Check is in the building, and he is bringing the fireworks this week. We are doing our annual bold hot takes, whatever you want to call them, fireworks and fuego, you name it, they're going to be brought. And J. Mike is here. So J. Mike, how the hell are you, sir?
A tradition unlike any other. Firework takes here with the homies over at DHH. I'm happy to be here, guys. Thank you for having me. It's good to see y'all's faces. And again, just thank you for having me. This is I look forward to this, and one of these days, I'm sure that you all will stop calling me for this specific episode because you're like, whoa, these are some gross takes. But I'm here for it. I'm here for it though. So thanks again for having me. I'm excited for it.
Yes. Who else drops Mace references in their podcast hosting? Anybody? All right. Find me someone and show me proof, and we can go toe to toe. So yes, I'm excited to have you here, J. Mike. Thank you for joining us. Tim, how's the new digs working out? You've got a whole new setup in the back. If you're streaming us live on YouTube, if you're on Periscope, you're like, whoa. A, Tim isn't spread eagle on a air mattress, which is great. And B, he's not in his normal basement location. So Tim, fill us in. What's going on over there?
I am in the new house, thankfully, with the rest of the family. But because of the COVID, because of the move, the internet company can't be out here till the 10th to get us hooked up. So I'm back on the phone. So it's still a little wonky. But Doug, I know you put your family dog down yesterday. So I wanted to say, my condolences to you and the family on that. My grandmother passed away this week on Wednesday. So I wanted to say, love you, Grandma. Rest in peace. And other than that, it's been a great 4th of July, couple days off, despite me spending most of it in a ditch, laying some plumbing line. But
you did lay some pipe. I saw it.
Oh yes. The video is out there.
The video is out there.
My OnlyFans page. It's Tim Lay's pipe.
Yes.
I'll be doing a version
search
2.0.
DHH.
Yes.
You're a great pipe player, Tim. You should be proud. Absolutely.
It's on the Patreon side. So
sorry to hear about your grandmother, and thank you for we put our dog down on the 4th. So it was a little somber yesterday, but today we had a family barbecue and we celebrated her and her 14 years. Great dog, never easy. Animals, they'll break your heart for sure. So last but not least, Robbie, also having internet issues, but he's here with us. So Robbie, what's new in the Jeffries household?
Yeah, man, at the original Jeffries household back home with mom and dad, fiance is with me. We just came up to South Dakota for the 4th and just got together, did some grilling, got to go to the beach a little bit. So it was a really good gathering, got together and got to see some family that I haven't seen in a while. And yeah, apologize, no video tonight, but I will be doing my best to keep up with you guys in these firework takes.
You skipped out on Mount Rushmore, right?
Oh, I did skip out on Mount Rushmore.
Right,
they watched a little bit of it on the TV, but I missed most of it. Board games were a little more important.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got an update. It's a coronavirus outbreak in South Dakota with all the people at Mount Rushmore.
Right.
People, I tell you. Wear your damn mask and be quiet about it, Karen. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So we do have some news this week. Like I said, we're going to talk firework takes with J. Mike. We are going to talk a little bit about Scott Fishbowl 10 because it's on everybody's mind. We've got our stats and stuff segment, but let's get into our news first. There's not a ton this week. Fortunately, no one pulled the Jason Pierre-Paul over the 4th that we know of. So and we've got 10 fingers, 10 toes. Life is good. The biggest news this week was David Njoku, my boy. I own David Njoku. Him and Aaron Jones have been my boys for the longest times. I own Njoku in almost every dynasty league, although I did sell him for a profit in a couple of them. But soon to be 24 years old. He was the 29th pick in that vaunted 2017 tight end draft. It had your Jonnu Smiths. It had your George Kittle. Just a ton of tight ends in the 2017 class. There's a lot of teams out there that could use a tight end. So namely the Washington Redskins. You know, they're looking at Jeremy Sprinkle, Logan Thomas. Some people believe in Thaddeus Moss. The Cardinals, they're kind of boring. Max Williams. They've got Dan Arnold. The Texans, Kahale Warring for life. Stay away from the Texans and Njoku. The Bengals, Drew Sample for life, so stay away from there as well. And then the Patriots they've been rumored to get a tight end forever, ever since Gronk, decided to retire and then come back. But Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene might be the answer there. Plus, they have salary cap issues. And the Bears could use it. I'm just kidding. The Bears have 15 tight ends in the roster. I think they're okay. The next great tight end, Cole Kmet, is already there. Nicknamed the Natural from the coaching staff. Fun fact. So I'm going to go to you, J. Mike, because you're the guest. Where would you like to see David Njoku get traded to that could lift back up his dynasty fantasy value?
Well, I guess first of all, I'm just really disappointed that you didn't say anything about Buffalo with your boy Tommy Sweeney.
And don't forget, Dawson Knox, bro.
Yes,
no,
it's Dawson Knox.
We've got him in almost every single NFL league.
Yeah.
I just remember last year, Tommy Sweeney was your boy. And I love
with the Boston College. Tommy Sweeney's a great pass catcher kid.
Yeah. Look at him run the Saints.
I'm really trying to understand, and this is kind of going around your question a little bit, but help me for a moment. Njoku wants a trade. The team has him under contract through 2021, so this season and the next. And he
picked up his 5th-year option this year, correct?
He had signed an extension, so he's got according to the good folks at Spotrac, he's under contract for 2020. He's also under contract for 2021, and he's unrestricted in 2022, and he'll be 26 years old at that time. Now, where would I love to see him go? I don't know that I'm excited to see him go anywhere, because I don't know that I've seen enough to make me be like, hey, I want you to be the prime guy in blank. So Washington would be a lot of fun, simply because Washington's at this point where obviously they've got Thaddeus Moss, and everyone, for whatever, not everyone, here I go again with my everyone's and no ones. It seems like so many people are excited about Washington with Thaddeus Moss, and I don't get it. So if you bring in someone who's a legitimate athletic freak or athletic specimen like him, that could be fun for Haskins. Another weapon certainly wouldn't hurt, especially with what you think about their actual pass receiving core not being as exciting as you'd hope it to be. Although I'm a big fan of McLaurin this year. Late to that party, but I'm here now. I'm here now, Mom. So I think Njoku to Washington is probably my favorite of the bunch that you said. I can't think of any others that I'm like, you know what, I'm clamoring for it. Because, again, I think that he needs a lot of air and opportunity, as well as he's going to have to see a lot of consistency come his way, because that's something that he hasn't really given us to this point in Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree with that. The interesting thing to me was, especially when you talk about like Thaddeus Moss. So he was getting drafted in most of our rookie drafts if you were in a 4th or 5th round. So I was really interested because it seems like, was Harrison Bryant. He's the Cleveland. I always get Harrison and Hunter mixed up. Hunter's in Detroit, correct?
Correct.
Yes. All right. So Harrison Bryant gets drafted by the Cleveland Browns. He was the John Mackey Award winner, best tight end in the country. And so he gets drafted by the Browns. They're like, oh, they spend money on Hooper. They have Njoku, and now Harrison Bryant is there. So if they trade Njoku, I picked up Harrison Bryant in the UDPL, which is one of the more prestigious dynasty podcasting leagues in existence, which I've won in the past. Humble brag. But I picked him up as a free agent after the draft, and I think just people were off of him, but he was a lot of people's number 2 tight end going into the draft. So the Cleveland Browns draft him, and everyone kind of gives up on him because they don't see a way he's going to see the field. Cleveland, if Njoku stays, I think it'll be for 1 year, and then they move on from him somehow. Maybe they cut him or they trade him. But I even think if Njoku stays, he could be fantasy relevant because I think they're going to use a lot of 12 personnel, kind of like the Rams did, and they're going to transform because the Browns don't really have a wide receiver 3. It's Rashad Higgins. Maybe it's Donovan Peoples-Jones. Who knows? But I think that Njoku could see some fantasy relevant weeks at least. I don't know if he's going to finish as, Hooper and him finish as tight end ones, but the athleticism is there. We've seen flashes of great things from David Njoku. He struggled a little bit with drops. Obviously the health, last year he broke his wrist early on and then never really recovered from it. Washington, I think it was a good spot because I think, from a target percentage, it would look really good. I mean, the other one, when you look at like all these teams and you look at the quarterbacks that are listed, I mean, I think you really have to love the Texans and you have to love the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals, I don't think it would be hard for him to go in there and beat out Max Williams and Dan Arnold for the job. The Texans, now they've already got a ton of tight ends on that roster. We talked about, Kahale Warring. Hopefully that he has a second-year breakout. But, they've got Jordan Thomas, Jordan Akins. They signed Darren Fells. I don't know that they're going to be in market for a tight end. But I would like to see him end up on the Cardinals, to be honest. I know that his, target percentage could be a little bit lower. But sticking with Kyler Murray and Njoku one-on-one with a linebacker, the play breaks down, and Njoku can get open a lot. So I would love to see David Njoku go to the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm going to go to you next, Robbie. Where would you like to see Njoku land? And then we'll get to Tim, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of right with Jay Mike that I don't think we've seen enough to know what spot really helps him. I think someone with an established quarterback would be helpful. So a lot of these teams, other than the Texans, they kind of have a newer guy. Let's see what Cam does with the Pats and if he's the starter, which I would assume is going to happen. That might be a cool spot for him to go up by you, Doug. But a lot of these places, they're just, another spot. Some of them have busier depth charts than others at wide receiver for targets and whatnot. But I think they're all just any place where he can maybe reestablish himself as maybe the guy, I think would be a good place. And I think most of these places, outside of the Texans, because, like you said, I like Kahale Warren. They do have a couple of other guys there as well, a couple of Jordans, as well as Darren Fells. So maybe outside of the Texans, there's some open spots for him.
So as you were talking, Robbie, this came across my mind. What about a team like the Indianapolis Colts? Now, I know they have Jack Doyle. They signed Trey Burton, but to like a pretty much a veteran minimum deal. So they would owe him nothing to cut him. I would love to see David Njoku with the Colts and Phillip Rivers. That could be a sneaky landing spot. I think they would probably have the cap room to be able to fit him as well. Right. A team that's win now, they've got, that would make their offense even better, which I think it's going to be much improved over last year, especially with the additions of Jonathan Taylor, a healthy Paris Campbell. They added Michael Pittman. If T.Y. Hilton can stay healthy, you put Njoku in there with Doyle, that would be really sexy, and I would like that. So, Tim, let's wrap up the Njoku talk. Where do you think the Chiefs should go?
Well, on my couple teams I wrote down, I think Washington makes the most sense for him. That's probably where he's going to see the biggest share of the targets. But the second team I wrote down was Arizona. You touched on them, Doug. Christian Kirk and Devontae Adams. I'm sorry, not Devontae Adams, but DeAndre Hopkins. Getting the vast of attention from the secondary is going to leave Njoku in some plus situations and coverages there in Arizona. And then two more I wrote down at the back end of the list. I don't love the first one, obviously, because I do love myself some Ian Thomas, but Carolina could be a potentially a semi-decent landing spot, with their new quarterback and all the talk of he likes to keep it close to the line of scrimmage. Having multiple tight ends might not be the worst thing for Carolina. And then another one, we were talking about the Texans a little bit. What about that other team there in Texas? What about the Dallas Cowboys? I think Njoku would be a very, very interesting addition to that offense. I mean, that offense is locked and loaded to do some potentially very special things this year. I think Dak is going to skyrocket. I think that receiving core is top notch. And obviously, they have one of the best running backs this league's seen in the past 10 years. So you put him with that group, and hopefully he realizes where he is on that pecking order, and he kind of falls in line because there's plenty of mouths to feed there. But I think that would be a fun one, at least.
I tell you what, I was just about to say, stop smushing my Jarwin, Keller.
What about so let's stick in the NFC East. What about the Giants? Because I don't know, Evan Ingram can never stay healthy. Okay.
Stop smushing my Caden Smith, Doug.
The other thought I had
Number
too.
two
I got Caden Smith on the backside of rosters.
The other thing we were talking about
too.
with the Cardinals was, would David Njoku be able to go in there and beat out Hakeem Butler for tight end snaps? Oh, Hakeem Butler. How's that looking? Oy vey. All right, let's keep it moving. I'm going to hand the reins off to Robbie because we're going to play some stats and stuff.
All right, gents. I wanted Doug to be able to get in on this because normally he has to host this. He doesn't get to make the guesses. We have 2 players coming up, mystery players. I see Tim's getting the pen ready to write these down. I want you guys to kind of think who they might be. Tell me first which one you would prefer, and then if you have any guesses, we'll guess them at the end. So player A, this player is a 25-year-old, and he has had double-digit touchdowns in 4 of his 5 NFL seasons. Number 2, the second fact for this player is he's never had less than 223 carries in a single season, with his fewest games played being 13. Third fact is this player's current team ran the 4th least in 2019. The 4th least.
4th least.
Okay, that is player A. Player B is a 26-year-old who is the running back 3 in points per game from weeks 9 to 17, only behind CMC and Derrick Henry. Fact number 2 is this player has had at least 50 receptions in each of their past 2 seasons. And number 3 is this player has never averaged less than 4.5 yards per carry in any of their 4 seasons.
I think I
So
know
let's
who player B
swing.
is.
I think I know
Okay.
too.
Let's swing to J. Mike, the guest first. Do you have a player that you would prefer for this upcoming season?
I am horrendous at this apparently because I do not know either player. And I'm sitting here, I've been reading this now, the clues that you gave, and I cannot put a finger on either. I want to say that I like the 26-year-old. I'd prefer him with those 50 receptions in the last 2 seasons. But man, I don't have a clue as to who's who. This is bothering me.
Okay. J. Mike's going player B, maybe. Tim, who do you got?
Okay, I think I have player B.
Same.
And I have an inclination of who player A might be. I like the durability, no less than 13 games played. And the touchdowns is intriguing as well. You're telling me 10-plus touchdowns in 4 or 5 seasons, and you're seeing over 200 carries. I'll go with the opportunity. The year younger, I'll take player A here.
Player A. Okay.
Yep.
Doug,
Can I guess who the players are?
you are the last person, so you can throw out your guess. Yes.
All right. I think player A is Todd Gurley.
Okay.
And
You
I
wanna
think
know right
player
now?
B, I mean, if they want to know, sure. And I think player B is Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones has been in the league for 4 years already.
17, 18, 19. Oh, maybe not.
I think player B is Leonard Fournette.
All right, you ready? I'm back. We had a little momentary suspense.
No, you're
You guys
good.
ready for the answer?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are indeed.
Player A is Todd Gurley. So, Doug, you got that one right. Then I didn't hear what
Yay.
you guys guessed for player B, but player B is Kenyon Drake. Did anyone guess that?
Guessed Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Did not guess that, but I
Kenyon
like that.
Drake. Good one. Good one.
That is a
So
good one.
the
He
the
did have a
ADP for
big
Gurley.
penalty.
Yeah, the ADP for Gurley is 15 for this upcoming year, and Kenyon Drake is 8. So I just found that a little interesting when looking them up. That they're some split, and obviously a lot of that's going to be the injury concern with Gurley, right? That's pushing his value down. But Tim, when you look at those stats, you said I like that consistency, I like that durability. It's almost an
13
oxymoron when you
games
actually
played,
look at his stats of what he's able to do. So I found that really interesting. You'd think he'd miss more games, but
Yeah.
they just kind of towed back his touches a little bit, but he still had 223 last year.
Yeah, Gurley stuck out to me. I was like, as soon as I read it, I was like, I think that's Todd Gurley. I think, it's funny that Todd Gurley, I mean, when you look at his ADP, I mean, he's a value not only in Dynasty, not only in redraft, not only in Scott Fishbowl. Like, he's going to a team, the Atlanta Falcons, that will probably score more points than the Rams did last year. He's the only show in town. It's him, Ito Smith, and Brian Hill, and Kadri Olison. Like, none of those guys scare me to take the work away from Todd Gurley. Like, with just those minimum amount of carries, I think he's going to be more involved in the passing game like he was 2 years ago for the Rams. So, like, yeah, I love Todd Gurley's value across the board in fantasy right now. It's just one of those things where people are like, oh, he's on the decline. He's not sexy anymore. But you know what? Like, he's just going to get the job done. He's going to be like Bob the Builder. Can we build it? Yeah, he'll do it. He'll be a solid RB2 all season long for you. So I like it. Kenyon Drake scares me a little bit. I've always liked the player, but his ADP is getting a little out of control.
At his ceiling, I think.
And we'll talk a little bit about the Cardinals backfield when we talk about our bold takes a little later. Hey-o. So,
I just want to sneak it in there. I really like Kenyon Drake this year. I want to make sure that it's on wax somewhere.
As RB8?
Tell it.
I like him in redraft and Scott Fishbowl. I don't like him in Dynasty as much.
There we go. Right. So obviously, this is Dynasty happy hour that we're rocking, right? So Dynasty might be another discussion, but for this season, I really like Kenyon Drake because and Ian Harditz, shout out to him on Twitter. He had this little thread. He's at PFF. He had a thread of basically plays from Kenyon Drake about how he leverages the blocking. And I just remember seeing another thread on Miles Sanders about how many different cutback lanes that he misses and whatnot. And I like both of those players a lot, and I think that how they play is similar in play style. And I really like what Kenyon Drake adds to that offense because he's got the breakaway to give you something special in Arizona behind an offensive line that's less than spectacular. And if they're really bad and they've got Kyler still running for his life, you could see Kenyon Drake rolling up another 50+ catch season, in which case the ceiling is very nice. So when I look here at Fantasy Pros currently 2020, he's RB11. I'm all over that because I think that he's got room to finish somewhere in the top 10. So I just figured I'd throw that out real fast because I think you're right. With Gurley, air and opportunity abounds, right? It's just, can his body hold up, right? Because we look at Atlanta and we like what Atlanta looks like. We like everything they're putting on paper right now. And if Todd Gurley can be any semblance of himself, full steam ahead. But the moment that he breaks down, it's like, ugh. Oof.
Well, the narrative, I mean, he's never had less than the 223 carries, like Robbie said, and with the fewest games played in a season being 13, like the narrative is that like, oh, this guy's toast and he's always injured, but that's not true. It's kind of like Brandon Cooks, like everyone's like, oh, he's always injured, but that's not true. Like Brandon Cooks has played 90% of his games over his career. So I think we see a player get injured maybe once or twice and then they're dead to us. It's just, I think it's the flaw in the fantasy football mindset a lot of times is that when you see a guy get hurt once or twice and maybe he misses a game or two, like all of a sudden they're like, oh, this guy's hurt all the time. But Brandon Cooks hasn't missed much time in his career at all.
Yeah.
I understand the concussion concern.
Yeah. But it's the scary injuries, the knees and the concussions, I think, that just drive that price down.
Yeah.
You know what? Buy the dip. That's what I say. Not the smoking tobacco dip. That's disgusting. But like buy the dip in value is what I'm saying. So, all right, let's move it on.
The queso?
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving. I want to talk a little bit of Scott Fishbowl 10 because it is going to be the all-consuming. We're going to see people complaining about, being on the clock forever. Hopefully not. I know we saw some of that last year. My God, it's the worst thing in the world. But I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of the divisions that we're all in, as well as where we're drafting, and then cover some scoring, and then kind of some thoughts that we have going into Scott Fishbowl from our respective ADPs. We're all drafting from a different position. So J-Mike, you've got the 101 in the Ghostbusters division, so that's pretty awesome. I'm at the 105 in Lincoln Logs. I've also got Kevin Cotillo, one of the co-hosts of the SFB Podathon, and Justin Barlow, FF Couch Coach, friend of DHH. He is also in my division. So Lincoln Logs is looking absolutely stacked. Tim, we've got you at the 106 in Garbage Pail Kids. I know it's the division that you wanted, so you're super hyped to be there. And then Robbie, you're at 108, and I believe you requested Power Rangers, correct?
Absolutely. Blue Ranger. Let's go, Billy.
Blue Ranger for life. So I'm to cover the scoring real quick. So the interesting scoring this year, it's 1 point per or negative point per incompletion and a half point per completion. So essentially you need a 66.6 2/3 completion rate to maintain the scoring rate. So obviously this hurts players like your Josh Allens, but it also helps players like Drew Brees or Derek Carr, who typically lead the league in completion percentage. We've got 6-point passing touchdowns with a -4 for INTs, and also an extra -2 for pick six. Remember Jameis Winston last year?
Mhm.
Ouch. So you actually get a -7 is a pick six because you get -1 for the incompletion, -4 for the pick, and -2 for the pick six. So that's pretty rough. Now, one of the other wrinkles this year with quarterback scoring is -1 per sack. So you're going to have to take into the fact, like a Deshaun Watson, for instance, he gets sacked more than anybody else in the league. So, that's going to ratchet him down maybe a spot or two in your rankings because he's going to get sacked 40 to 50 times in the league year. Mm-hmm. We've got 0.5 point for first downs of any kind, whether it's receiving or rushing, and that also includes quarterbacks. I believe Lamar Jackson had 74 first down runs last year. Wowzers. He blew everyone away in scoring at the quarterback position last year. And then tight end premium, you've got a 0.5 point extra for receptions and a 0.5 extra for first downs for your tight end. So Travis Kelce, I believe, was the number 4 overall scoring or 5 overall scoring player in last year's format. So those tight ends can be super valuable if you can get one of the top tight ends, those big 3 that we always talk about. If you can secure one of those guys, and they're going to go early, usually, first or second round in these drafts. So I want to go to J Mike first. Do you have any strategies as we sit here on draft eve? Are you just going to be like Bruce Lee? It's like water. I'm going to be fluid. I'm going to let the draft board come to me. Or are you saying, you know what? I got the 101 in Ghostbusters. I hope you have a good idea who you're going to draft. And if so, you can give us some breaking news here. Who's your 101 in Ghostbusters?
Nobody can stop you. Who we going with, J Mike?
Okay, I've got my
now.
I've got my first pick narrowed down to about 17 guys. So
nice. Kenyon Drake on the list?
Just there we go. Exactly. So you can never be too careful, Doug. What I found as I've mocked, and I've mocked quite a bit in preparation for SFB, and it's more for the fun of it, just to try to stay on light on my feet once the drafts kick off. I don't necessarily have intentions of winning. I just have intentions of having a lot of fun and hopefully advancing and not making a fool of myself. But at 101, I found something very interesting as I mocked. If you go with someone like Patrick Mahomes, like Lamar Jackson in the 1 spot, and as worthy of that spot as they may be, what happens is you now become basically to the mercy of the rest of the league, in that if they choose not to value quarterbacks quite as valuable as they may seem, specifically with the scoring, you could really be flushing a pick down a drain, and you could really be in a position to where you're behind the 8 ball at the running back spot, which I don't want to be in the least bit when it comes back to the 2-3 turn. I don't want to be boxed in. And like you said, Doug, if my intention is to stay water, stay as fluid as possible, I'm likely looking at one of the running backs at the top to be able to maintain fluidity at the 2-3 turn. I don't want to be locked into anything. I want to be able to jump into wherever the value takes it there. Because again, when you're on the ends, there's 20 some odd picks that go by. And I think that you and Trotta actually were talking about this on Trophy Time, and that when it comes to these runs, that you can be on the end of something gross and you don't want to be forced into that.
You really feel the pressure, especially at quarterback.
Right.
It's like you almost feel like if I don't take one now, if I don't take one in say like round 4, like, so for instance, I was the 101 last year. I took CMC. He was my 101. In the second round, I took Nick Chubb, and somehow at the 301, George Kittle was there. So I wasn't going to pass him up. So then I felt like, okay, I have to take a quarterback at the 4-5 or I'm going to be completely screwed. I just hate feeling painted into a corner from a team building standpoint. So that's why I requested the 105, because it's kind of in the middle, and I'm going to get one of my big 5 this year. So that was part of my strategy behind it. But yeah, I hate that feeling of like, if I wait any longer, like I'm going to have a quarterback that like I'm just going to have to swallow hard and be like, I guess I'm going to draft him. He's a starter, and that's not how you want to feel.
Right, and what's key for me is that when you're on the ends, you want to try to be able to apply pressure versus feeling all of that pressure. And so I've found that if I go quarterback early, I feel pressure early, and if I'm having to fight that all the way through the draft, or who knows when or if that'll flip, I don't want any part of that. So that's the way I'm leaning. I'll leave it there. You can take your guesses as to who that is, but that's how I'm leaning.
Gotcha.
Well,
Tim, you got any
CMC,
strategy? Absolutely. I love drafting
years,
CMC 101 last year.
The past 2 years, I've made it very well known. Last year, I believe I was drafting out of the 7 or 8 spot. I took Melvin Gordon, and within 48 hours of that pick being made, he announced he was going to hold out. The year before
not draft
that,
Dalvin Cook.
The year before that, Le'Veon Bell had already announced he was going to hold out, but I was like, he won't do it. He'll be back. The Steelers will take care of him. And so I took Le'Veon Bell like the 110, 111. I forget exactly where I drafted that year. Didn't work out for me either of the past 2 seasons. So I completely agree with J-Mike. I am drafting from the 106. I requested the 106 specifically for those runs. If a run begins, I'm probably going to find myself either at the very start of it or the very tail of it. And it gives me that leverage. If you see, 3-4 quarterbacks go off in a row, 3-4 running backs go off in a row, that's leaving wide receiver talent. That's leaving tight end talent. That's leaving quarterback talent out there that these guys are bypassing. And to jump in and be the 5th or 6th person to take a running back is not helping me gain any ground on those people that just took these running backs. I need to zig when everybody else is zagging. So I like that 6. You're never too far away from either turn. I feel I'm a little more mobile there in the middle. I can play the draft board better, I personally feel. So, and like J Mike said, not necessarily applying pressure to the rest of the draft board, but you have the ability to kind of read as it's coming each way towards you, and kind of plan out how you want to work it, because you see what the rest of the league's kind of doing in those 6 or 7 picks on its way back to you, and you can say, well, if they're all going to go this way, I'm going to go this way, and we'll jump back in that lane the next time around, or 2 rounds down the road, or something like that.
Yeah. What about you, Robbie? So you're at 108. So you're drafting towards the end of the first round. First of all, did you choose the 108 spot?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. So my thought was, every year I think we see, at least in the league, the divisions I've been in, that someone tries to get cute early in the first, and they just do a wild card, man. And I think every
Cook
year,
101. I'm looking at you, Hall.
and every year somebody's going to fall. And so the big 6, I think, are the Lamar and Mahomes, and then you have the running backs with Saquon, Zeke, CMC, Kamara. And, hopefully one of those guys falls. And if not, I think it really leaves the draft board open to whether you want to go at tight end, you want to take Michael Thomas, you want to go quarterback and secure that with Dak or one of these other Watson, Murray, Wilson guys. And that's what I kind of like about the 108. There's just so many different ways to go that if something falls, which I think I see a lot, where somebody tries to get cute and then one of these top 6 guys falls. And the second reason is that when you have this turnaround back to 205 would be the second round, is it's such a short gap where you can still kind of play. You don't have to wait on those long runs. You have a shorter gap, make the pick. If you need to correct at some position, you can make that correction. Then you have a little bit longer of a wait back to that 308. But I like a little bit shorter and then a little bit longer of a wait, so you can kind of adjust if needed. If a certain run happens, you're not out of it.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's going to be real interesting, based on some of I remember doing mocks last year, and then the actual Scott Fishbowl started, and it was like, take that mock data, crumple it up into a ball, and yeet it into the next neighborhood over, because it didn't mean anything. Because you're like, wow, this isn't what happened in my mocks. Holy crap, look at all these quarterbacks going. I know in my Eliminator, which is a 17-team Eliminator draft, we had Drew Brees go at the 108. We had, I think, 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the first round, and I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. I got Dalvin
Yeah.
Cook at the 115, and then I got Derrick Henry in the second round, and I didn't think Cook would make it to me at the 15th overall spot. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
I was like, what is going on here? But then again, with all those quarterbacks going, I went running back. Guess who felt the pressure to take a quarterback? Me. But at least I got the running back side of the way. But it's just one of those things is like, that's why I say, like, you can go in with a strategy, but just be reminded that it's great to go in with a strategy and an idea of what you're going to do, but just keep in mind that may not go your way, and you have to think on your toes a little bit. Now, the good thing is we do have a clock. It's not like it's 2 minutes in between picks. So you can really think it out as you go through and kind of map out how the draft might look after you make your pick. But yeah, just make your picks on time. All the people in Scott Fishbowl, don't wait for the clock to run out. Don't wait for 7 hours to go by. Like the MFL, a lot of people will be like, it's good. I draft every single rookie draft, Scott Fishbowl team, and everything through MFL Platinum. I have never had a singular issue using the app. Either do that or have it and prepared to log in and make all those picks in a timely fashion. Now, keep in mind, we don't want the draft to go away because we ain't got nothing else going on. So make it last a little bit. Don't get it over in 2 days. No fun. But find a happy medium. That's all I'm saying. So I am super excited. So I know from you guys,
Make it last.
Keith Sweat. Hell yeah. All right. So let's get into real quick before we move on. I want to know, guys, give me a player that you're targeting in Scott Fishbowl. Doesn't matter where it is. It could be a top 5 round guy. It could be a guy around 15. What's the one guy that you want to walk out of Scott Fishbowl with that you think guy that's going to help you get into the playoffs and maybe win the dang thing? So J-Mike, I want to hear yours first.
This is interesting because there are several guys that I really want to walk away with, and I don't want to give you some stock answer like who might be at the top.
Sure.
I will say this, if Kenyon Drake comes back to me at the 2-3 turn, and shout out to everybody in the Ghostbusters division, if you're watching or listening to this or anything,
make it happen for the man, will you?
That's a smash for me. Like that is zero hesitation. It doesn't matter what's happened. I don't care if 22 quarterbacks go straight.
That's where I got Nick Chubb last year.
If Kenyon Drake comes back to me at the 2-3, book him, Dano. That's it. So yeah, I think Kenyon Drake is actually one that I'm excited about because, again, you talk about somebody who has the potential to blow the roof off. I really like that, but I also like his floor specifically in the passing game to be able to continue to produce for that team, even if the offensive line still isn't very good. So yeah, I'm with it.
All right, Tim, what about you?
Well, I think we're all selling ourselves directly into like that pick right before us getting sniped on everybody we're about to talk about. The guy I have in mind, and we're going to bring this guy's name up here again shortly, but Robert Woods in a bunch of the mocks I've done, it's just the way this scoring system is built. There's some wide receiver talent that seems, based off of mock ADP, seems to be falling into a very sweet zone in the 4th through 6th, 7th round. And Bobby Woods is falling the spots in mocks, at least, that I would love to grab him at. He's a guy that I think has a lot of upside this year with the current team that's around him. So he's a guy that at his current ADP and mocks, I 100% see myself attempting to also find him in my actual live draft starting tomorrow.
Hey, let me ask a question real quick, Tim. With old Bobby Toothpicks, Bobby Woods himself, where would you be comfortable? Like, what number wide receiver on your team would you be comfortable having Woods? Like, how high up? Like, could Bobby Woods be your wide receiver 1 and you feel comfortable with that on your team?
If Robert is my wide receiver 1, that means I've probably gone with 2 running backs, a quarterback, possibly 2 quarterbacks, and then Bobby, or 2 running backs, quarterback, tight end. So at that point, yes, that means I've probably locked in a top 5 tight end in my mind, a top 5 to 7 quarterback and 2 top 12 running backs, I'll be fine with Robert Woods and his upside being my wide receiver 1. With that start, I'll probably look to hammer a couple more of those mid-round wide receivers, but we'll have to see kind of how those first 2 or 3 rounds go. If I land some of them early targets I really like in some of them spots, yeah, Robert Woods could come to me in the 5th, and I'd be 100% fine with him being my wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, just like in a lot of these divisional drafts, I think we're going to see quarterback, running back frenzies in the first in the first drafts that are going on. And that's what happened to me in my division last year. I ended up getting Allen Robinson and Kenny Golladay at the 6-7 turn, which I was pumped with at the time because wide receiver value was just coming to me because everyone was tight ends, quarterbacks, running backs. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to pivot a little bit and I'm going to get a couple of who I think are going to be stud receivers in round 6 and 7, and it worked out pretty well. Now, if only I had good quarterback play, I would have been fine. But so, Robbie, let's go to you. Who's the player that you want to walk out of Scott Fishbowl with?
Now, before I say anything, I must mention I am co-managing this team with one Tom Corson at Dynasty Infidel. He has mentioned in the chat that I should, quote, shut my mouth and say nothing, end quote. So I will piggyback.
Then you're
Tom is a smart man.
I'm doing a little bit of that.
Love
I'm
you,
going to
Tom.
plead the 5th, but also I'm just going to echo Tim's comments. Dude, wide receivers are just falling left and right in this draft. Robert Woods at 605 is just crazy low. DJ Moore in the 4th, Keenan Allen in the 6th, Jarvis Landry in the 8th. Yeah, I've done a couple mocks. I've seen these guys fall, and it is just wild how low they're going. So just any wide receiver, if you can wait on wide receiver, I think you're going to find a lot of value down the board. And to answer your question, J. Mike, I also think Woods would be a great wide receiver 1, considering all the other talent that you're going to get. You're going to fill your quarterback slots, your running back slots, probably even your tight end if you wanted to, and then nab him up in that 6th round or around, depending on obviously your draft slot. Yeah, you can just have a stacked team that way.
Yeah, I think for me, so part of my strategy last year was I ended up taking a lot of rookie wide receivers later in the draft, like round 16 and on. I took Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown. So I targeted rookie wide receivers that were probably going to fall into a healthy target share if everything worked out. And, those 3 players between DK and McLaurin, they worked out. Obviously, we know Hollywood Brown had a couple boom games, but he was hurt. I'm not going to be afraid to go after these rookie wide receivers because, I know the narrative is going to be, well, there's no training camp and there's no this and there's no that. So I even think that their ADPs are going to fall even a little bit more, which is going to even make them more attractive. So like your Michael Pittmans or any of these guys that are towards the top of the depth chart, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, guys like that, I think are going to be super, super relevant and they're going to outperform their ADPs, coming if and when there is an NFL season, of course. But the one player that I want, and you said Kenyon Drake, and I've been thinking Chase Edmonds this whole time based on his ADP going in the 15th or 16th round in these drafts. Kenyon Drake goes down like Chase Edmonds, like, hello. We saw him have a 3-touch. We saw him have a 3-touchdown game against the Giants last year. Then unfortunately he got hurt. But he's going to be in a sweet offense. I like the talent on the player. He's one of those guys like your Tony Pollards, your Chase Edmonds. Like, give me those guys late and take a lottery ticket on those guys to have at the end of your bench, because you know what? Injuries happen. And those are the kind of guys that I want that could pay off in a really big way. So like, I want a guy like Chase Edmonds, especially at his ADP on my team, as well as sprinkle in some 2-3 rookie receivers that I think are going to outperform their ADP. So I'm not afraid of that. And I don't think you should be either. So if you follow that strategy and it works, boom, you're welcome. All right. So that is going to wrap up some Scott Fishbowl talk. I can't wait for the draft to start tomorrow. It is going to be absolutely epic. And it's going to be a lot of fun like it is every single year. So with that said, we got a word from our sponsor. Shout out to Scott. Absolutely. He is, it must be almost a relief for him to get to this point where probably after the first couple of days of the draft, because then everyone's logged in, everyone's made picks. So like day 2 of the draft, I feel Scott can kind of like relax a little bit, possibly.
Sit down, smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, him and Ryan McDowell just chilling. Like, you know what? Like, we've done our job. Let's let it do its thing. We're good. So shout out to him and Ryan, who's been helping him a lot this year. Shout out to Fantasy Cares. If you have the opportunity, this podcast gets posted late in the evening, early in the morning. The Podathon is still going to be going on. So make sure you follow SFB Podathon on Twitter. I know they're broadcasting on Facebook Live. You can see all the links that our friend of the show, Sal, our Tinder host, is doing with Kevin Cotillo as well as Steve. So make sure to check them out and donate to Fantasy Cares. They've been raising an awesome amount of money this year. They blew away their $10,000
for 20 grand.
Their goal. They're going to be shooting for 20,000 and they're going to beat it. So absolutely. If you can go on there and donate to Fantasy Cares, even if you're not playing in Scott Fishbowl, there's satellite leagues. You just want to do the right thing and say, you know what? This is for the kids. This is for toys. Like, it's a weird year. Kids need stuff more like this more than ever. So please donate to Fantasy Cares if you have the opportunity to, and if you have the chance. Thank you in advance. So now to hear from our sponsor this week, it's Dynasty Owner. They're the only patented fantasy sports game using actual NFL salaries and contracts. You manage your team from every single level, from owner to general manager to coach. Dynasty Owner is for the smart and elite fantasy football player, much like ourselves. And you, the listeners, you are smart and you are elite. Don't let anybody tell you any different. There's no offseason in Dynasty Owner. The rookie draft matters. Free agency matters. And every single contract matters. Imagine drafting Cam Newton on that veteran minimum deal. That would be sexy in Dynasty Owner, would it not? So come do a startup in 2020 using actual NFL player contracts and salaries that improve your team each year with a 3-round rookie draft and by trading players and draft picks during the season. You can win weekly prizes, seasonal prizes, and you compete in the chase for the ring, which is a legit ring, not like, these kind of knockoff. It's really, really nice. It's legit. The mobile app is out there. You can download it on iOS and Android. They've got rookie drafts that have already been going on. So hopefully you got in on those. I know they had a waiting list at first, and they're letting more and more people into these leagues. You can mock draft. It's open now on desktop and mobile browsers. You can learn more, and you can mock draft for the price of $0 for free. Go to www.dynastyowner.com. So cue the fireworks sounds. I know we don't want to hear them in our neighborhood, but you can hear them on this podcast. It is time for firework takes, ether takes with J Mike. So J Mike, I'm going to let you kick this thing off because you're the guest and it's the right thing to do. And people want to hear that beautiful voice of yours. So J Mike, give me your first absolute firework take of 2020.
As my brother, my friend, co-host on the Open Bar, Gabe Gearing, always says, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. And firework take season's here. So I'm excited about this. Let's get into it. In typical Tim Keller fashion, we start with the baby hotness first, right? The baby hotness. I've got
like a habanero.
Yeah. On the what is it? I forgot how they measure it.
Scoville scale.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'm about to butcher that, so I'll stop.
Matt Ryan, hand warmers, campfire.
Yeah, I'm with
Inferno.
All right, quarterback, Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan. We've watched the roller coaster continue year after year. Matt Ryan finishes the season as a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. Top 5. Not just a quarterback one, but he's kicking down the doors of top 5. Here's the deal. At least for what I've been able to find, Falcons have had a bottom third defense in the league in terms of points given up and yards in both 2018 and 2019. Respectively, Falcons were 5th and 1st in pass attempts in those seasons. Just in case you all were wondering, that Falcons defense still projected to be #not good. It's not looking very fun for Atlanta and that defense. This is year 2 of stint 2 of offensive coordinator Dirk Cutter. We've got a bolstered offensive line. We've got first-round picks all over the place, even if
their whole starting offense is a first-round pick.
Exactly.
If Treadwell makes it.
Yeah, with Treadwell there. And so enter one Todd Gurley, who obviously we've mentioned earlier, pending his knees hold up. Hopefully that it's not some situation where like the bottom falls out of all the work that he's received over the years and everything else. And if that's the case, I mean, we're literally looking at the best running back that the Atlanta Falcons have ever had on their roster in ever. You can't name a more talented running back that they've had in the history of their time. Not Warwick Dunn. And I like Warwick Dunn, don't get me wrong. Not Devonta Freeman, not the Dirty Bird himself, Jamal Anderson, not TJ Duckett. But we're looking at right.
Did Eric Dickerson have a stint with the Falcons?
Not that I recall. No, I don't think he did that because I wanted to make sure I look up their all-time rushing list, and it gets real grim real fast. So when it comes to Atlanta this year, I am so excited to see Matt Ryan do work in that offense year 2. And to see, obviously, the continued roller coaster that is now, the bad season that we had from Matt Ryan last year, the good season's coming, obviously. So Matt Ryan, top 5 QB in fantasy. Book him, Dano.
Yeah.
So just because I'm a complete football nerd, Eric Dickerson did play for the Falcons, but it was like the last year of his career.
What was his rushing total for that?
Oh, God, please hold. It was the
it was probably
he had 26 attempts for 91 yards.
Okay.
So obviously not good anymore, but just name value wise. All right, I get partial credit. So I want to circle back to this, and we're talking dynasty, right? So Matt Ryan's going to have a top 5 season. Now, if you look at Matt Ryan's history over his career, he's an every other year guy. So he has the good year, the bad year, the good year, the bad. It's like clockwork. So Matt Ryan is due to have that top 5 year. Now, what that means, obviously, Calvin Ridley's been hot in the streets on Twitter. Everyone knows that. They saw him breaking ankles and route running. And we've had people say, like, well, if I could run there for 50 seconds downfield, blah, 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 like, whatever. Whatever. Anyway, so what this screams to me is go get Russell Gage for free. That's all this screams to me is Russell Gage. He's going to be the number 3 guy. Like, I love it. He's my freebie, dynasty freebie last season. I picked him up everywhere. Shout out to my boy, Zach, FF Troglodyte. Got me on Russell Gage. I picked him up for free. And you know what? End of Scott Fishbowl roster, give me Russell Gage too for that cheap wide receiver value. All right. How are we going to follow that one up, Tim? I think you have a bold one too at the quarterback position here. The internet is failing us.
Like J. Mike said, we started out QB. I wanted to of a post-site sleeper. Last year, this team started just mounting, talent after talent on this offensive side of the ball. They have a new head coach. I'm speaking about Baker Mayfield. Stefanski, the last 2 seasons up there in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins himself in 2018 was QB 12, QB 15 last year. Baker Mayfield surrounded by the likes of Austin Hooper, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones they just brought into the building. And then in the backfield, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. That's some better, and I think it will. I'm saying that Baker Mayfield, the guy that everybody was taking as a QB1 last year, and now he didn't perform like such, and his prices dropped accordingly, is going to finish at QB 8 or better this season. I think that Stefanski is going to come in. He's going to be the manager that the past couple coaching regimes have not been. We saw last year that while Baker had a very good relationship with Mr. Kitchens, it probably wasn't his time yet to be a head coach. I don't think he had the ability to focus on the offense and manage an entire team at the same time. Stefanski has been in this role for a long enough time. I think he's securing himself. He's brought in some other good coaches. I think they're going to get Baker ready. They're going to get this offense ready. I think Baker's a great post-type sleeper. Quarterback 8.
Nice. Sorry, Tim, you were breaking up a little bit there. So So I'm gonna go next, and then we'll finish up round one with Robbie. So for me, my first firework take, and I don't even think it's that. It's kind of like there's burning embers. It's a little bit of a start of a campfire. I think there's going to be a lot of people that might nod their head and agree with me on this one. A player that I loved last year as a rookie. I own him in a handful of dynasty leagues. I just told you I had him in Scott Fishbowl. Terry McLaurin finishes with 1,300 yards and double-digit touchdowns, and he finishes as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. He makes that leap in his second year. It used to be third year was the wide receiver leap, but we're seeing it more and more. We look at DJ Chark, DJ Moore, must be a DJ thing, making the jump in year 2. And I think Terry McLaurin is going to do it. I think, they didn't bring in really any pass catchers. They drafted Antonio Gandy Golden. Cool. He can solve a Rubik's Cube really fast, which is awesome. He's a genius. They have Steven Sims, who a lot of people like as that deep sleeper. They've got Kelvin Harmon, who they drafted later in the draft, which a lot of people like Kelvin Harmon as well. But to me, they don't have anything at tight end, which we've already discussed. Terry McLaurin is going to see 25% of targets. And this kid, to me, is already one of the best route runners in the league. Again, super intelligent player, silky smooth. He is so dang good, Terry McLaurin, and he did it last year on a team where they had probably the worst QB play in the league, and he did what he did with that. And I think, the second year with Dwayne Haskins as a starter, we all know the narrative like, oh, that was his college quarterback, so they have rapport. Okay, I get that. But I just think the talent, the opportunity, the target share percentage, McLaurin could have easily had a couple more touchdowns that they missed him on because of the quarterback play. Terry McLaurin, for me, is going to be a stud this year. So if you own him in Dynasty, congrats. If you can still trade for him now, because I think that we're going to see, much like DJ Moore, had a good rookie season, but now DJ Moore is a top 5 Dynasty wide receiver for a lot of people. So if you can make that move, a lot like how he made that move with Chris Godwin last year, and we went out and we acquired Chris Godwin before he broke out, I think the same exact mindset with Terry McLaurin is in play, because you want to get that guy now, because guess what? If Terry McLaurin does have 1,300 yards and double-digit touchdowns, or if he even has 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, like his stock is just going to keep going up. So you want to try to buy now instead of trying to buy later when the price is going to be possibly too high, much like a DJ Moore. Like, it's really hard to acquire DJ Moore in Dynasty unless you're going to overpay for him. So go get Terry McLaurin. He's my bold take. He's going to finish as a wide receiver 1 this year, 1,300 yards, double-digit touchdowns. Lock it up. Robbie, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that one's interesting because we watched the Amari Cooper saga where we thought Washington was going to get him. And so a lot of people like me, while I had liked McLaurin, saw the writing on the wall, got nervous, moved on from him. Then obviously the draft happens. And while you were still able to get that first round value, which felt good, but then you move on from him before the draft thinking, if they wanted Amari Cooper, then they're looking for one of these A-list guys. And then they wait until the 4th to take AGG, and you're like, oh no, why did I move on from McLaurin?
Yeah, and in the deepest wide receiver class we might have ever seen.
Right.
They didn't take one in the first 3 rounds. So yeah, I mean, I think that they're like, Rivera came in and he's like, Terry McLaurin's our guy. He's going to be the dude. And I'm perfectly A-okay with that because I think he is the dude. So I'm all about Terry McLaurin, F1, whatever his nickname might end up being. I love him. So yeah, absolutely. So Robbie, you bounced out. You're back now. So now give us your first firework take of the 2020 season. Boop, boop. Now experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. Robbie, can you hear me?
At least he's not making like a weird face in that freeze.
That's true. He's frozen. I mean, I can go over his player. We talked about him earlier. So why don't we do that until Robbie gets back? I don't want to steal too much of his thunder. So Robbie's first firework take of 2020 was that Bobby Woods, Robert Forrest, will be a top 6 wide receiver in PPR this year. He's currently going as wide receiver 17 in ADP. So, Tim, why don't you chime in here? Because you said Bob Woods was the guy that you wanted to walk out of Scott Fishbowl with. I agree with you on this because I think Robert Woods is just slept on across the industry. And you look at his consistency and what the Rams are doing on that offense. So help Robbie out here and lift him up in his time of need, and talk to me about Bob Woods.
Roberto Jungle, as I like to refer to him, is a guy that's on the Rams offense, with that play calling, with that offensive mind, their head coach, with the departure of Brandon Cooks. Robert Woods could be in line for 20 to 22% of the target share there. We talked about Todd Gurley moving on. He was always a big factor out of the backfield. They're kind of unsettled in that backfield as of this very moment. I think they still need to figure out exactly who their lead guy is going to be in the backfield. But Robert Woods is a guy that consistently has beat his ADP year after year over the past 3 to 4 years now. And you're telling me I can get him at wide receiver 17, and this guy's consistently beating his ADP? You're talking about a guy who could easily find his way into that wide receiver 1 territory, and I'm getting him as wide receiver 17. So that's nothing but value, nothing but points gained against the competition there, while I was taking a better player at another position around earlier.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. I think the thing that we talked about, especially where J-Mike touched on Matt Ryan and the Falcons needing to throw the ball a lot. Well, guess what? The Rams defense is going to stink. They're not going to be very good. The Rams, especially in that NFC West, they're going to be in some shootouts. So I like Bob Woods to outperform his ADP as well. And a top 6, I could totally see it. We know he's got the talent. The opportunity should be there. Cooper Kupp and Bob Woods, it's pretty much those two guys, and along with the tight ends. The running backs, we don't know how that's going to shake out. So give me Bobby Woods. I like that take quite a bit. So J-Mike, we're moving on to take 2. You've got one about a rookie wide receiver here. Talk to me.
Take 2 of 3. I feel like every year we have to get at least one rookie mention in here, and this year is no different. This year, and some of you will probably love this, some of you will hate this. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't necessarily call myself a stand for this guy, but as the processes continue to go on, I'm now a fan as to how things have shaken out. So I've got Henry Ruggs, wide receiver for your Las Vegas Raiders, finishing as a top 30 wide receiver in fantasy. Currently going, yeah, I know, right? Currently going wide receiver 47 in ADP. Now, here's the rationale behind it. The last 3 seasons, top 30 people or wide receivers who've had top 30 finishes with less than 100 targets. 2019, there were 6 guys. 2018, there were 5 guys. 2017, there were 5 guys. And I can go through the names if you like, but I don't want to bore you with the fine print. Just hear me out from here, from henceforth. Henry Ruggs ranked 14th in the nation amongst wide receivers in yards from scrimmage per touch at 19.5 yards per touch. So that's second in the class behind T. Higgins. Again, 19.5 yards per touch from scrimmage. Second in the class behind T. Higgins. Las Vegas last season was 21st in pass attempts, but 11th in yards gained, and including 9th in passing yards. So Derek Carr, obviously, we talked about him earlier. He did pretty decent work last year, even though he wouldn't push the ball down the field. Gruden and the whole band are back together. Darren Waller actually led Las Vegas last year with 117 targets. Hunter Renfrow led Las Vegas wide receivers themselves in targets with 71. And Tyrell Williams, talking about full circle, led Las Vegas in amongst wide receivers for the team in fantasy finishes at 47th overall, where you're getting Henry Ruggs right now, wide receiver 47. If you
it's the circle of life.
if you give Ruggs any inkling, anything that even broaches the breadth of 100 targets, if you look at him as being the target leader amongst the wide receivers in that team or for that team, you're looking at a guy who's going to break a buttload of plays wide open. There's going to be multiple 20-plus yard gains, and there's going to be fantasy goodness to be poured all over your teams. And for the value that you're getting there, wide receiver 47, I think I'm on board, and it scares me, and it feels kind of gross, but I'm with it.
I took Henry Ruggs as my wide receiver 2 in my eliminator. I faded wide receiver for a while. And I had Deontay Johnson was my wide receiver 1, so it just shows how long I waited. And then I took Ruggs as my number 2. So I love it. And I don't own enough Ruggs. I think that's what stinks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just the wide receivers in that area. Like I faded Ruggs a little bit, and I'm probably going to regret it. All right, so Tim, you've also got a wide receiver for your second take. Talk to me.
I do, and you brought this guy's name up a lot. You made me feel that I had to bump this up even higher. So DJ Moore is the guy I want to talk about. 6 touchdowns on his career so far. They do have the quarterback change there. Bridgewater, the talk is he doesn't like to push the ball downfield very much. So there's concern that maybe this wide receiver core suffers. I say nay, not at all. DJ Moore is going to outscore his career in touchdowns this year. 6 for his career so far. I say he gets in the end zone 8 times this year alone. We're going to see 1,400 plus yards out of the young man. I say he's going to finish in the top 5. In the top 5 for wide receivers this season. He is going to turn. We talked about that year 3. This is year 3 for DJ Moore. He's going to turn into the alpha that we've seen start to blossom last year. DJ Moore, wide receiver, top 5.
I like it. We know the talent's there. Yeah, the opportunity, man. I think he's going to make some magic with Teddy. I really do. Him and Ian Thomas. Yeah, you heard it here first, or second, or last, whatever. One of my favorite late round tight end guys in Scott Fishbowl was Ian Thomas. As we all know, if you listen to the pod, you know I like Ian Thomas. But you also know that I like this next player, and this guy I think is getting slept on. Now I know we think of this player and everyone's like touchdown regression. Whoa, he's not going to score 19 times again. Well, no shit, he's not going to score 19 times again. I even know that, but I think that Aaron Flippin' Jones is going to finish as a top 10 running back again this year because, they draft, everything is against him. Everyone loves to hate Aaron Jones. Well, they drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round. He's not going to score 19 touchdowns again. Okay, fine. He's still the most talented running back in the backfield. I don't care about Jamal Williams. I don't care about Dexter Williams. I don't care about Sherwin Williams. I don't care about A.J. Dillon. Like, cool, they drafted him in the second round. I don't think A.J. Dillon is really going to eat into too much of Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has shown that even with a limited amount of touches, and he touches the ball 15 times a game, he can be a rock-solid RB2. And then if they finally say, you know what, Aaron Jones, like, you're the guy, he's going to finish as a top 10 running back again. We all see the talent. He's oozing in talent. Green Bay doesn't have a lot at the pass catcher position. They've got Devontae Adams. We all think that, maybe it's going to be one of these other guys. Maybe it's Devin Funchess. Maybe it's Equanimeous St. Brown. Maybe it's Valdez Scanley. Maybe Sternberger. Okay, I don't care. Give me Aaron freaking Jones. He's one of the best running backs in the league. I want him. I think he's going to be a top 10 running back again this year for Green Bay. I'm not scared. And I know in Scott Fishbowl, if Aaron Jones can make it to me in the 3rd round, I'm cool with that because I'm confident that Aaron Jones is going to come in and he's going to push RB1 status once again this year because the kid is crazy talented and everyone is counting him out because of A.J. Dillon and because of touchdown regression. Don't care. Give me Aaron Jones. I'm a stand for the man, and I'm not afraid to wave the flag. Let's go. Robbie, you've returned.
I'm back. Thank you for whoever took over. Said my Bobby Woods goodness. We'd already talked about him. Moving on to firework take number 2. Doug, little snappers is what you're throwing out with this top 10 running back with Aaron Jones. You're throwing out the little snapper fireworks. I am going to say Todd Gurley will be a top 5 running back. We already discussed how he is going as running back 15 in ADP. People are scared about the injuries. And you hit on it. You already made my case for me early in the pod. He moves to a team with less competition in the running back room. We have Ito Smith, they just don't have anybody to take away carries from him. We moved to an offense that I think will be even better this year, a defense that'll be worse than what he had with the Rams. So I just think that Todd Gurley has everything written to be a top 5 running back. He will get the targets. As you noted earlier with Russell Gage, I mean, they just have targets galore to go around. And with Julio, Calvin Ridley, you got Hurst in there. Give me Todd Gurley to get, 65-ish targets there to go along with his rushing ability. So he's had 4 double-digit touchdown seasons, make it 5 coming up in 2020.
All I see is fireworks. I like that one. That is bolder than my Aaron Jones take, Robbie. You've ethered me. I'm still on Team Aaron Jones. All right, J-Mike, we've got your last. We're gonna wrap it up with our fieriest of fiery takes that we can load up here. So J-Mike, you know what? No, J-Mike, you're gonna go last because you should close us out. We're gonna we're gonna throw the order out. We're gonna go to you last. So we're gonna go Tim, Doug, Robbie, and then J-Mike's gonna wrap us up. So Tim, give me your final, hottest, boldest in Fuego take.
All right. My hottest and boldest take. We just talked about Aaron Jones and Doug. I also have a strong love for that gentleman, but a guy that I have loved since his days at a D2 college, Mr. Matt Breida, has found himself in Southern Florida playing for the Miami Dolphins, and the only other competition that's worth a damn in that backfield is Mr. Jordan Howard. And let's be honest, out of these two, it's not even close who's got the juice in the wheels. It is Matt Breida. He is the guy that can be electric out of the backfield for the Dolphins. He has averaged over 5 yards a carry in his career. The biggest issue with Matt Breida is his health. If this man can stay healthy, I'm that Matt running back in fantasy. Matt Breida, Miami Dolphins, RB1. Here we go.
Love it. I'm invested in Breida all over the place because you know what? I like him too. All right. So I'm giving you my boldest take for the 2020 season. Here we go. Strap in, boys. I think this is a pretty good one. So Tampa Bay's offense disappoints. And the only player to live up to their ADP is Chris Godwin, who doesn't even live all the way up to his ADP. He finishes as a fringe wide receiver 1. This all boils down to I don't think Tom Brady is that great anymore. And maybe I'm throwing shade at the GOAT. I'm not a spurned Patriots fan. Like, if you listen to me, you know that I've been like, Brady, like he can move on. But watching every single snap that he took last year, I just don't. It's really hard for me to believe that Brady is going to elevate Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Ronald Jones, Keyshawn Vaughn, possibly OJ Howard. I just don't see him doing it. So I think Tampa Bay as a whole is going to disappoint in fantasy circles, and Godwin will become his new Edelman. I think Godwin is going to be the guy that he targets the most, and he'll get close to performing at his ADP. But I think Evans is going to disappoint. Gronk at his ADP is interesting because he's typically going at like tight end 8 or 9. So I think he might be able to get there, but I'm fading him a little bit. Being away from the game for a full year, who's to say what happens with Gronk? I'm not feeling Tampa Bay's offense as much as the consensus is, where everyone's like, target Tampa Bay's offense. I think one of the interesting Scott Fishbowl strategies too is that Tampa Bay and Carolina both have their bye weeks in week 13, which is the first bye week in Scott Fishbowl. So if you win that division, like load up on Carolina and Tampa Bay players, I'm hearing a lot of people say. Interesting take. But yeah, I'm out on Tampa Bay's offense for the most part, unless they slide to me in a draft and it's palatable. But give me Chris Godwin. But other than that, I have this feeling about me that I just think Tampa Bay is going to really disappoint people on offense this year. So that's my firework take is I'm fading Tampa Bay and all of their elite weapons in 2020. Whew. It took a lot for me to say.
I was gonna say, man, that was I would not have pegged you for the Brady slander here, but here we are, 2020. What's up?
I'm watching him play last year. I just don't think he's that good anymore. I'm sorry. Like, I think he's okay. I just don't think he's going to be like, oh, it's going to be like 07 and he's going to light it up with Mike Evans and all these other guys and your Dante Stallworths. And, I just don't see that happening. That was forever ago. He's 43, almost 44 years old. Like, we just have to be realistic. And I'm just fading Tampa at their ADP right now. So Robbie, you got one left in the chamber here. Let's make it a final hot take for you.
I am ready for the final hot take here, the firework take. First, we must give a shout out to David, EJ Berger, at Carl Jr. Just lighten up our chat here, given his agreements with a lot of these takes. And I hope he agrees with this final one. I might be accused of homerism, but I will take it all the same. Dakota Prescott, QB1 for the 2020 season. Now, some might say, but sir, Lamar Jackson, but sir, Patrick Mahomes, and I think they are very good candidates as well. But that would not be a hot take. A hot take would be saying that Dak Prescott, QB 10 in 2018, QB 3 in 2019, will now rise and be QB1 for 2020 for a couple of reasons. The 600 pass attempts, he had just under 600 last year. I think the Cowboys only throw more this year with Mike McCarthy as coach, CeeDee Lamb coming in, Jarwin moving in to replace
some pieces too.
Absolutely, you're taking the words right out of my mouth. We, the Cowboys nation, lost so much on defense with Byron Jones, Robert Quinn. There's going to be a lot of new faces there, and so I think it's just going to make the pass attack need to happen a little bit more in 2020. So I think he is a great candidate to finish high. And finish high, I mean QB1. So do not call it homerism or do. Either way, that's my final hot take.
I like it. You can definitely see a path where Dakota could be number one. And that fits. You were in South Dakota. So like, hey, boom, look at that. It's a beautiful symmetry.
Yes.
I believe they call that kismet in the business. So yeah, Dakota Prescott, I can see that too. And I traded my 203 for Dak Prescott this year in a single QB league. And I would love it if that happens because that means I'm contending for the championship again this year in my home dynasty league. So make it rain, all the Prescott points and all the Cowboys points. Let's go, boys. All right, J. Mike, the stage is yours. You're going to close us out in grand fashion. I like this one. I think it's hot. Give it to us.
The Scoville units that you've been waiting for. And this feels like it should be a movie trailer, if you will, because of last season as well. From the studio that brought you, Michael Thomas would not finish as the top 15 wide receiver.
Absolutely. Bring it.
So, oh man, you talk about the worst. That was easily my worst take ever. Easily the worst take ever. So anyway, this year, and at least I've got a little bit of research to help me out this year, but this year, my beloved, and please don't tell Gabe this, y'all. This can't get out, okay? This is just between us here on the podcast right now.
All right, we won't publish it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Running back, Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns, Wubba Lubba Chubb himself, falls outside of the top 15 running backs in 2020.
So I come into this crap. This is what I come into. What the hell is going on here?
This is the hottest of hot that I've got this year. This has all the Scoville units, all the sadness wrapped into it. And it makes me sad to even say it because I hope it doesn't happen. I hope it has the same exact effect of Michael Thomas, where I motivated him to his wide receiver one finish.
RB1, let's go.
Nick Chubb is now RB1. Go buy him everywhere, everyone. Okay, so check this out. The Browns, obviously, Nick Chubb led the Browns in running back finishes all through the first 9 weeks of the season. Enter Kareem Hunt. He's back from suspension. In weeks 10 through 16, Kareem Hunt outscored Nick Chubb in 6 of those final 8 weeks. Again, 6 of the final 8 weeks, Kareem Hunt outscored Nick Chubb. Also keep this in mind. Nick Chubb last year without Kareem Hunt, and this is courtesy of Scott Barrett and Graham Barfield, these stats. So Chubb without Hunt last year was 19.7 points per game, which was good for RB5 in that span. Chubb with Hunt, 13 points per game, which was good for running back 23 in that span also. Target share for Nick Chubb went down from 12% without Hunt to 5% with Hunt. Name of the game is this. Even though Stefanski's coming to town and we're excited about them running the ball a lot and life being great, I love Nick Chubb. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Kareem Hunt is a problem. He is a problem. The man is really, really stinking good at football. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's better than Nick Chubb, but he's good enough to make Nick Chubb not the top end running back that we want in fantasy. So, hold your stones, hold everything, hold on to your butts, everything. Nick Chubb falls outside of the top 15, and it scares me. I don't like to say it, but that's my heater this year.
I'm very disappointed.
33% dip in performance is big.
That's a lot, man.
That's a big dip, and yeah, I can see. You're selling me on Chubb and fading him. I can see it. Kareem Hunt is a problem. I actually like Kareem Hunt as his ADP right now.
Exactly, and especially when Kareem Hunt he's the better, or he's been the more productive pass catcher of the two as well. If for whatever reason that offense gets out of whack and they're not able to run the ball like they want to, man, it could go sideways for Chubb, and that hurts my heart. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I think the play too with Kareem Hunt in Dynasty is that he very well could be a free agent after this year. And lest us forget, the dude led the NFL in rushing in his rookie year. I know he's had some off the field. He had an off the field issue, and that's why he's on the Browns in the first place. But dude is talented, crazy talented. So I think at his price, he's a guy that I'm willing to kind of acquire at his ADP in Dynasty because, hey, not only this year is he potentially to be an RB2 on a week-to-week basis in your PPR formats, but going forward, he could be the dude in one of these places that needs a running back. Absolutely. So I'm with you, J. Mike. So we're just about to wrap up here. Tyler, you jumped in. Would you like to say any final parting words before we wrap up?
So I want a couple hot takes. I like blowing J. Mike's mind, so I'm going to. Devin Singletary is going to be an RB1. He's going to catch 40-plus passes. He's going to have 1,200 yards. And Zach Moss is going to be okay. He's not gonna eat into Singletary as much as we think. Another hot take: Josh Herbert's the best quarterback out of this draft class. I got to go with that take.
You mean Justin Herbert? You get the damn name.
It means Josh Herbert.
Dude, Josh Herbert, his brother.
Gotcha. UDFA.
No, Justin Herbert is going to be the best quarterback in this class, and I would probably say that's about it. I mean, I got a lot of sun today, so hot take. I am roasting right now, and we're getting ready for the podathon. I'm in my car, no AC, no windows on, because I would get torn up by these mosquitoes. They're the size of pterodactyls up here, so I am protecting myself. It's like Jurassic Park in here when the T-Rex is coming for him. So
it sounds like hell, is what it sounds like, to be honest.
Yeah,
and you know where it's really hot? In hell, where Tyler is. Absolutely. This has been the Hot Takes episode. I wanted to thank Robbie, want to thank Tim, Tyler for jumping on late, but most importantly, I want to thank you, J. Mike, for coming on here every year and dealing with us for an hour and 15 minutes and giving your hottest, boldest takes for 2020. So the stage is yours. Let us know where we can find you, what you're working on, and any other thing that you'd like to talk about. Feel free, young sir.
Always good to be with you guys. And as they say, there's no place like home. DHH, it's always going to be home for me. So I appreciate you guys having me, welcoming me back in. This is easily one of my favorite podcasts to do every year, our Hot Takes. So we always get a lot of laughs, and it's good to catch up. So on Twitter, at JMikeCheck, one half of the good folks at The Open Bar with Gabe Gearing, The Open Bar Pod on Twitter. And Tuesday nights, we like to have a lot of fun. Got a couple other endeavors as well, the Dummy Blitz, 15-minute podcast over there at the DFPN network. And then J Mike's Journal, where I just pour my heart out and do a little bit of soul searching in the process to get through some grieving. So it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for everyone. Hope you check that out as well. Again, at J Mike's Journal on Twitter. And again, I'm humbled to be here with you guys. DHH is legendary, and I'm grateful for you all, and I appreciate y'all. So thank you.
Thank you, J Mike. That's going to wrap us up for Dynasty Happy Hour this week. Let's get some Scott Fishbowl teams drafting, and we'll see you next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour.